Good evening, friends. Today we have Major General Sudhakar ji with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinay. Thank you so much. And
Always a
it's
pleasure to have you with
thank
us. Very interesting to hear you talk.
thank you, Ji.
Yeah. So let's go to the first piece of news, Sudhakar ji. See, we are talking about Putin coming to India, and he was given a very, very warm welcome by the Prime Minister himself. He will begin his first visit in 4 years with a private dinner hosted by the Prime Minister on Thursday. The two will discuss ways to shore up the special and privileged strategic partnership with a focus on economic ties while exchanging views on key global and regional issues. The PM is expected to reiterate India's position, seeking early end to the Russian-Ukraine war and a return to dialogue and diplomacy. Putin had hosted Modi for a private dinner during the latter's Russian visit last year for the annual summit. Now, his visit has certainly heckled people in America, isn't it, Sudhakarji?
Yes, certainly. You made a very laudable point, and you see, this visit is very, very important. It's a global kind of a visit being watched all over the world. Why is it being watched all over the world? Firstly, I would like to give compliments to the intelligence agencies of Russia and India. This visit is taking place in the backdrop of highly, extremely sensitive and very volatile and dangerous security challenges. And be mindful of the fact that Netanyahu, the leader of Israel, his visit had to be cancelled for the third time, despite Mossad being what it is today. And they have got effective control over the entire environment. But still, Putin has come. He's come here after 4 years. And there are issues which you have alluded briefly in your preamble. You see, there are a couple of global issues, there are regional issues, and there are national issues. When I talk about national issues, they are purely going to be driven by the national interest of India. To me, I personally feel that this is national interest of India is going to be the central paradigm on which every discussion is going to be developed, whether it is during dinner or the itinerary that he has got tomorrow or till he departs. So national interest is exclusively, I would say, 95 to 99% will be national interest of India. It will be driven by three important paradigms. One is the trade, second is the energy, and third is the security. There are other issues also because they fit into these three major heads. When you talk about the trade, the tariff war is also going to be discussed. And the kind of punitive penalty which has been imposed on India, and India has been singled out for buying oil, and we are fueling the war which is going on against Ukraine and being called as a laundromat. What's to that effect? And putting pressure on India to bring down our import of oil, disregarding the fact that it is same America which had urged India at the time of when the invasion of Russia started into Ukraine way back in 2022. The same USA had urged India to go in for oil from Russia so that there is the price rise in the international market can be controlled or stabilized. So from one leader to another leader in USA, one doesn't see eye to eye with each other. So therefore, ultimately, it has to come and impact on the relationship of India. When Donald Trump talks about oil, he doesn't mean oil. What he means is that the oil which India is buying from Russia between, say, February 2022 till say September 2025, if India has bought something close to roughly around $135.7 billion, out of 135.7 billion, around 75 to 77 billion worth of money has been paid in non-dollar currency. When I say non-dollar currency, it is either rupee and ruble and yuan currency, that is the Chinese currency. not in dollar currency. So 75 out of 135, you can well calculate the percentage of the slow, salami slicing, incremental way of de-dollarization. That is what is the biggest fear. If the dominance of dollar comes down in the world order, then the superpower, which is already a declining power, it will start expediting. It will slow down faster. It will accelerate the process of further declinement of the superpower. That is what the biggest danger. Just for our audience to understand, way back in 70s, when the Brent oil, that petrol, fossil fuel, and the dollar agreement was made with Saudi Arabia, uh, the dominance during that time of US dollar in 70s and 80s was close to 86 to 89% in the world order. Okay, so 86 to 89% dominance. Now during the pandemic which took place between 2020 to, let's say, 2023 or 24, the dominance of dollar had gone down to 54%. And the economic experts, they always say that the day the dominance of dollar goes down below 50% will be the day you can classify USA as no longer as a superpower, not even a declining power. It will be anything like any other country, a third world, or let's say developing country, etc., etc. Although they have a very strong economic base, the per capita income is very, very high, and military might is very, very high, but still they will find it extremely unsustainable. Yesterday only I came across in the open source. Earlier we were talking about 37 trillion US dollar economy at debt. Earlier, it used to be 123% of debt to GDP ratio. Now it has gone up, I'm told, roughly around 130 to 131% of debt to GDP ratio, and and the and the debt has gone up to 40 trillion. So there was a miscalculation. I had to correct my friend across seven seas that you're miscalculating. 37 was earlier. 5 trillion of the BBB, that agreement or the act which has been legislated, that if you add it, total comes to 42 trillion. Plus, for running of routine administration or the governance of USA requires 6 trillion in an annum, per annum. Their, their income generation, revenue generation is just about 4 trillion. So there is a deficit of 2 trillion here. And out of this 42 trillion, they require anything 1 trillion plus every year simply for the interest servicing. So 2 plus 3, 3 trillion, where do they get it from? The revenue generation is just about 4 trillion. So 4 plus 3, do they continue to print dollars? How much are they going to print? They have already exhausted, the Congress has exhausted all the parts of reprinting or printing the dollars time and again, because they have to go through stages of special this thing. The whole nation has to give a concurrence and ratify that the implication and meaning of printing of dollars will be this. Okay, so therefore, under these circumstances, there is some meaning behind this. When you talk about the trade, it also means the trade between India and Russia. India and Russia, the trade is, there is a huge imbalance. We are importing something to the tune of 68 billion per annum, and we are exporting something like 5 billion. There is a huge bulk of the income of the Russia is actually in rupees. Now they don't know what to do with the rupees. So there are proposals which are under implementation. There are Russian companies which have started coming and started investing money. They're developing this thing. Plus, we have also sought Russia to open up its different doors of agriculture, doors of fishiculture, aquatic this thing, and doors of, you talk about the gems and all which had shut down earlier. They have to be opened up. So similarly, you, you go in
Yes.
for the pharmaceutical, you go in for, now we have also given a proposal that we want to start a factory or an industry which produces urea in Russia, so that it becomes cheaper when we get the urea for our agriculture here. So similarly, you have many other issues. You also have the tourism. It is I don't know why it is not picking up. We have the space travel and host of other issues. We have the rare earth element. Today, India is dependent majorly on China, country like China, for rare earth element. Russia is not bad as far as the raw material is concerned, because for rare earth element, the future of the modernization of any country lies in technology. Technology depends on the critical minerals. Critical mineral depends on rare earth elements. A rare earth element actually depends on four things. Okay, and they are mining, they are extraction, they are processing, and fourth one is production. In all the four verticals, it is China which is dominating, be it the machinery, be it the process of processing and production. Okay, so even US and Australia, which are supposed to be leading countries in the rare earth element, way back in 60s and 70s, because it causes a lot of environmental pollution. The water gets dirty, the sky, the atmosphere becomes dirty. So they very rightfully, in their own wisdom, they thought perhaps this is the golden opportunity. Push it to China. China is very keen. Chow Lai was very keen to take all these things because the country, he wanted to modernize the country and promote industry at that point in time. That's how the China became a manufacturing hub from 70s till say 2000 till date. I would say it is the factory house of the entire world order. That's why people have suddenly woken up. That same China has started showing eyes and teeth and asserting itself, because from economic point of view, technology. Let me also share another fact. When you talk about the critical minerals, way back in 2003 to 2007, there are 64 critical elements. Those of you who are chemistry students, you can cross check in the table. And out of 64 elements, USA used to dominate in 61 elements. China was dominating in 3. Today in 2025, China is dominating in 57, USA is dominating in 7. So that itself gives you a clear indication. Okay, so you talk about blockchain, talk about AI, artificial intelligence, talk about autonomous platform, talk about the energy storage, or what else? You talk about genomics. Genomics is something like, it is your life science. It is your biotechnology. Okay, so the other terminology used is memomics. So what it means is this, and you talk about the quantum computing. Quantum is coming up in a very big way in many of the fields at a very fast, rapid rate, and China is leading. It is miles ahead. I'm talking about China and USA. India is nowhere actually. We don't figure anywhere. We have to struggle for next century maybe. Even if we double down, we are still far, far behind. It is not only 4.19 trillion US dollar economy of GDP. It is many other things. Our priorities are different. Our growth chart has been different. But the progress which we have shown from fragile 11 to top 4 countries or top 3 countries as far as the PPP is concerned. PPP, purchasing power parity. First is China. Second, China has got 40 trillion US dollar PPP GDP equivalent, and USA is approximately 31 trillion. India is 17.7 trillion. Okay, so and rest all, you have other countries in the Europe, Japan, and all. They are far, far below. But what I'm saying is that this is the era of the Asia. In Asia, it is India which is shining and galloping like anything. It is the only shining spot which we have to take advantage of. Last, I think in your podcast, I shared that our manufacturing is not picking up. Somehow we need to focus on the manufacturing. And what are the issues in manufacturing that we need to focus on are itself is a very, very deliberate act. And the people who want it to progress have to go down to the brass tacks. Only then we can pick up. So that is as far as the trade is concerned. There are other issues. You see, issues like we have to identify more areas where we can do export to Russia, so that the trade imbalance gets into some kind of a, if not balanced, absolutely 100% balanced profile. That is the ideal thing to achieve, but at least keeps on improving progressively. It should not be like that 68 billion we are importing from Russia and 5 billion we are exporting to Russia. There are many ways. So the third or the next point that I have in the mind is the security. Security is the central paradigm on which India has to spend a lot of time. Firstly, acquisition of hardware. When you talk about the aircraft today, Su-57, in the available inventory in the world order today, whether it is Rafale or F-35, F-35, please don't go. It's a very sincere, direct advice to Government of India through your channel, because I'm told I'm getting a lot of inputs. A lot of people who matter in the decision making are listening to your channel. So if at all they are listening, please don't go for F-35. Americans themselves have rejected F-35 in their inventory. It is the most unreliable, most expensive, and underperforming platform in the world today. Please don't go. Donald Trump is trying to push it down our throat. India must buy F-35. Don't go in for it, please. Because firstly, you see, the America is trying to make India dependent on America or USA in multiple paradigms, so that we keep going back to them with a begging bowl like Pakistan does. Please don't do it. Russia is the only country in the world today with no strings attached. It is throwing open everything, technology transfer, joint production, joint research, joint development, you call it co-development, co-production and all that expression. And like BrahMos it's a huge success story between Russia and India. Today, by end of this month, if all goes well, the enhanced or the developed warhead of BrahMos is going to be the hypersonic missile, which is under trial. And if I respect my research and study, it should be getting deployed on ground by end of December this year itself, not 2026. It's a major milestone. Major milestone. All these countries will be in jitters, like Pakistan, China. It has got huge capability. I don't want to give out the range. If we say 800, take it that it will be twice the range that we state. Okay, so we don't give out a range, accurate ranges, because we want to maintain that surprise and deception as far as possible. And if it comes to S400, we have paid the money in 2018. There are two more batteries which have to come. You are looking at the security environment, whether it is towards Pakistan, towards China, towards Bangladesh, towards Myanmar, Indian Ocean side. So therefore, there is a requirement to have much more enhanced integrated platform of security, air defense I am talking of. We need to get the remaining two batteries of S400, which was proven. It is battle tested in India. It's a game changer, force multiplier. No weapon, including Patriot missile of USA and THAAD, they are not comparable with S400. Let me say this. I'm saying this with pride and conviction, with lots of study and research. So you should go in for, India should go in for S500. At least we must go in for 5 more batteries, S500, and it should be jointly produced here in India. Technology transfer must take place here. Or maybe if there is a higher version of S500, we should go in for that towards ultimate achievement of Sudarshan Chakra. And next I have so security issues, like you know what is happening in Bangladesh. There is a requirement. Little while back, one of the international channels took my views. What is the meaning of balance of power in South Asia? I believe our Honorable Defense Minister made a statement just a couple of minutes prior to landing off Putin at the Technical Airfield Palam. So they called me. I gave them the explanation. They have to understand there is a huge imbalance of power. If you look at 3 important countries in the world today, it is USA, it is Russia, it is China. The fourth one possibly will be as a center of gravity between east, west, and north, south. But when it comes to Russia, it is missing in the strategic rivalry. There is a book. Let me show this book. Those of you who are interested, they can read this. I quoted this example of the Mansoor, Robert Kaplan. So if people know, they can read this. It is the Indian Ocean and the future of American power. The summary of the book is that in 21st century, the geopolitics of world order is already gravitating towards geoeconomics, and geoeconomics will be centering around the Indian Ocean, the commercial basket. Why? Because India alone has got more than 500 million consumers who consume, or they have the capability to spend more than $12 per day. I am not saying this. It is the United Nations, the agency which is authorized to say this. $12 per day. China has got 700 some millions today. The number is going to rise by 2035. We would have overtaken China. Along with India, there you have countries like, unfortunately, Bangladesh going through a tough time. Tanzania is figuring. Indonesia is also figuring. So there are a couple of countries. When it is Indian Ocean, Indian Ocean goes right up to the west coast of Africa, Australia, and from the east coast of Africa, or the southern tip of Africa, Cape of Good Hope, to the southern tip of Australia. So this is the stretch of almost about 10,000, um, around 7,700 kilometers, and north south is around 10,000 odd kilometers from northern, the tip of Antarctica to the northern tip of Bay of Bengal. That is the stretch of Indian Ocean. So there are many countries coming, and therefore they say the only way, and also keep in mind Thucydide trap, no established power will ever allow any growing or rising power to come up to its footing. So they will do anything and everything to make sure that they cannot deny us. They can delay India's growth. That is to be understood. And we all have to make a concerted effort. All Indians in our country come together, put your best foot forward collectively, and make sure that all these inimical forces we are trying to retard our growth are negated by our effort. It shouldn't happen that meaningless statements being given here, there, and a couple of places trying to undermine constitutional authority number of times. These are all, this negative energy sappers. You're generating negative energy, taking the country into a negative direction. People must act together and stay together in these kind of trying times. And this is why I'm saying the America is also going to make all out effort to ensure that India does not progress. India is touching many other issues like energy. Today we have set a target of how much? 500 gigawatt by 2030. We have already achieved 256 gigawatt by 2025 from non-fossil fuel. I'm talking about renewable energy. But what needs to be seen and done is that we have to migrate towards nuclear energy, which has been rightly done. This year only in the budget, 20,000 crore money has been allocated. Today in 2025, our generation of nuclear energy, civil nuclear energy, is 8.1 gigawatt. At places you will find 8.8. Actually, it is 8.17 or something. Our target, we are planning to achieve a target of 100 gigawatt by 230. At places you will find 233, 235, but it is 230 to the best of my memory, if I recall. So if that is what has to happen, rather than going in for big nuclear reactors, the country has taken the right decision. We have decided to go in for small, modular, tactical nuclear reactors, like the way we do it for, let's say, the SSBNs, the missiles, the submarines which we are developing indigenously. Similarly, for every city, a small modular nuclear reactor will be able to generate, so that our dependency on the fossil fuel keeps on reducing. Coal, we are burning something to coal. Do you know it is 73% of our total consumption of the fossil fuel today? We need to reduce our dependency on coal. Only then we can achieve the target of that zero emission objective by 2070. We are far, far ahead than other countries in the world. But that is not, let's not compare. Like Honorable Prime Minister made a very good statement. Don't compare ourselves with other countries. Compare ourselves with ourselves. Where are we yesterday and where are we today? That's the right way. That is a positive way of going ahead. And do not get distracted by people throwing stones at us.
Yeah.
You protect yourself. Make sure that they don't throw. Okay. Have strategic patience and take remedial measures. But continue with your progressive path of 30 trillion economy by 2030. Another issue that is going to be discussed in all probability at a geopolitical level is the multipolar world. You see, don't mind, I'm discussing as and when the points are coming to my mind. Today, USA and China, more than once, they have been heard and seen discussing about G2. That means the bipolar. So far, USA thought perhaps after disintegration of Russia, they would be marching ahead as a unipolar world. Sorry, they couldn't succeed. Every time they did try, they landed up in thick soup. They carried the body bags. They spent more money. Take the example of Vietnam, take the example of Afghanistan or Libya or Iraq. What happened in Iraq? What he's trying to do in Venezuela is a classic reflection or a replica of what they did in Iraq. They neutralized, they killed, they hanged Saddam Hussein, just because they were alleging that they had a WMD, the war of mass destruction, which were non existent. And what happened after that? They went back from Iraq with 4,400 dead bodies. They killed almost about 300,000 or 3 lakh people in Iraq itself. They left insurgency. Saddam Hussein, he was the leader of Baath Party, na, communist ruling. They
Yeah.
did not want the communism to be existing there. But ultimately, fortunately, Iraq has gradually, slowly is coming back to normalcy, and hope and pray that some kind of, and what happened to Iran? Why has Iran suddenly sprung up into octopus doctrine? The head of octopus is Iran, and it has got tentacles, one towards Yemen, Houthi, and one is Hamas, and one is towards the Hezbollah, and the fourth, Hadib al Sahib, that nobody talks about. 4H, and there are a number of militia groups floating around left, right, center, West Bank, Gaza, everywhere. How has it happened so rapidly? It has happened because it is your creation. You made Iraq as, you see, had Iraq been as strong as it was before, perhaps Iran wouldn't have grown so rapidly and been a threat in the Middle East and challenged the existence of Israel as it is happening. That's my take, my analysis. I don't think I'm wrong as a student of geopolitics. So therefore, one has to see the larger picture. Where is USA heading? So along with this, the peace talk about, multipolar world, when you talk about the G2, it actually gives birth to imbalance in the subcontinent. If USA accepts the growth of China and does not go as per the bipartisan decision written in its national security doctrine or national security strategy, then the whole equation becomes lopsided. When you talk about whole equation getting lopsided, then you require somebody to balance this imbalance. Who is that somebody? That somebody is nothing but Russia. We want Russia to be here in the Indian Ocean. Look at the immediate neighborhood of India. There are 3 spheres of influence which are not intersecting. They are conflicting, they are converging at the point of their national interest, which is suiting the national interest. The fundamental radicalization, communism, China I'm talking of, and the liberal democracy. Liberal democracy is fearful of the fact that it can be overtaken by countries like India. They're fearing that India could be a future China. So therefore, it is better you delay the progress and improvement of these kind of countries. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is that for balance of power, you require a country like Russia in the Indian Ocean and in the subcontinent, like the way what happened in Maldives, what is happening in Bangladesh now, what is happening in Myanmar. Russia has to play a very important role. It has to enhance its footprint, and India has to provide facilities for sustainable kind of existence of the footprint. Then only the balance of power will take place in South Asia. Last but
Yeah.
not the least, we have our threats like terrorism, because they also are going through the rage of terrorism. So therefore, you couldn't have asked for a better partner than Russia. And also outer space exploration. I have spoken about the civil nuclear, and they're very good. Russians are very good modular nuclear reactors. We need to actually take it from them. And also, finally, we need to look for other purposes of our global footprint and our recognition as one of the largest, most populous democratic country in the world, which is the shining spot with 8.2% rate of growth in the last quarter. And it is actually far greater than other countries in the world. If you take the list of G2 countries, others are, China is, they claim it is to be 5.2, but it is less than 5. And rest all countries in G20, they are not even more than 2%. Okay, rate of growth. So India is at 8.2%. Maybe one odd exception here and there could be touching 2.5 or 3% of rate of growth. So under those circumstances, everything is going fine, but we need to be very careful. Our GST relaxation has done wonders. Perhaps, in my understanding, it is one of the important things which has actually given this kind of outcome of 8.2%. But we need to focus on the manufacturing. We also need to calibrate our strategic autonomy in a manner that, because we cannot, your Make in India concept cannot take off in earnest without reducing your dependency with China. This I'm saying with a lot of maturity and responsibility, because I am also a China hawk. So I don't like my country buying anything from China. But more detail you go into, then you come to a conclusion that there are no alternatives, there are no options. So therefore, I strongly recommend that till we become an economy of 10 to 15 trillion US dollar economy, let's say by 2035 or 40, till then, let's mellow down a bit, calibrate. Mellow down means what we speak, what we do on ground, but do not compromise on the border solution. Border has to be resolved. Otherwise, you will keep having this Arunachal girl being stopped at Shanghai. The number will keep on increasing, and everything has to be addressed by reciprocity in today's time. Whatever they do, you must also do it back. If you don't do it, they will do it more than they're doing now.
Yeah.
So that is
So,
what,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, Major General, moving to another topic, a former Bangladeshi army general has suggested that Bangladesh would not see complete peace unless India breaks into pieces. The provocative remarks were made by Brigadier General Abdullahil Aman Azmi, the son of former Jamaat-e-Islami chief Ghulam Azam, during an event at the National Press Club in Dhaka, drawing outrage from India. Now, as you know, Bangladesh is a very weak country as well as Pakistan. The only thing they can indulge in is rhetoric, and they think that India gets frightened by their silly statements, isn't it?
Yes, Meena, that's a great statement made by you. But any threat, I being a soldier, I firmly believe, I preach and practice, never underestimate your enemy. The day you underestimate your enemy, you are cooking your chips. So this man, I know him very well. Know him means in the open source study and research. About a year and a half or 2 years back, I had been invited to give a talk at some international seminar on threat of balkanization to India. His photo, his name was figuring because he's son of a great Jamaiti leader. And what is Jamaiti? Jamaiti is an extension of the Muslim Brotherhood. What is Muslim Brotherhood? It took birth in 1928 in Egypt, thereafter spread to Palestine, Middle East, number of Muslim countries, and it is there in Bangladesh now. So when a threat like this is happening, this man is responsible. He's got hand in gloves operatives who are working. He's in a direction role, uh, and he's already engaged with ISI, ISIS, Al Qaeda. You have Hamas, you have Hezbollah. They're carrying out training, imparting training on explosive handling of explosives, tactics, and they are teaching the tactics that the Indian security forces and apparatus they practice on day-to-day performance of the duty or discharge of the mandate. So, two places along the border between Bangladesh and India, Ulfa camps, Lashkar-e-Toiba has been reported to be imparting training in conduct of successful plantation of bombs, IDs, improvised explosive devices. I am given to understand from the open source there are small groups of 5 to 6 people. One is expert in weapon handling, another is expert in explosive handling, third one is communication. Yes, they have got a communication equipment. This name of the communication equipment given by China is Ultra, I think. Ultra has been given to Pakistan Army. Instead of keeping it with Pakistan Army, they have given it to the jihadis. Then they have already reached Bangladesh. It communicates through by radio transmissions through the satellite of China with the handler in Pakistan. This is to be kept in mind. We have recovered how many? 3 tons of this ammonium nitrate from the open source only. I have gleaned that there is a balance of 12 ton of explosives which have been supplied across the border between Bangladesh and India into West Bengal. Their next target is actually here. Putin visit was the target, but somehow it got short fused because of our intelligence, because of our police SP there in JK. They did a wonderful job, and that's how we need to be. We need to keep our eyes and ears open. What is happening around, and also. Pakistan, through Pakistan, the military hardware, it is almost 82 to 83% in Bangladesh, which are being provided by China. Instead of supplying them directly, it is coming through Pakistan. It is very interesting. So that's why the ships which come and dock there recently, earlier they used to be subjected to scrutiny, very intense checking. These days there are no checking, there are visa-free movement taking place. So such like issue. Plus America has come in a big way. Okay, for its interest, for it is trying to push back China and also keep an eye on the progress and development inside India. This is a visit. If Putin has landed, then I think our intelligence agencies and the KGB of Russia, they need to be complemented. The aviators need to be complemented. Safety and security and the people who are involved in his protection, they need to be complemented. Let's hope and pray. I'm very optimistic. It will go off in a very smooth, successful manner, but we need to be careful that everything going off well from this visit is going to be a huge, huge setback to the people who are inimical to the interest of the growth story of India. We would have prevented a second Belgaum. So, therefore, this man is to be kept an eye. Our intelligence agency would do well if they narrow down, start preparing a personality file if it has not been done. He is a person who needs to be watched and taken for further investigation and accountability in times ahead.
Yeah. So Praveen is saying, Putin, can we have visa-free travel to Russia? And also, Visa Lakshmi says, Praveen, that may not be possible due to security reasons.
Okay, we'll take the questions after the session is over
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there are two
absolutely.
left.
Okay, so moving back to Murshidabad, a border district in West Bengal has recently witnessed a massive crackdown on crude bombs, highlighting serious law and order concerns. In a major development, authorities recovered around 80 crude bombs from the areas of Domkal, Gudia, and Salar. This brings the total number of bombs seized in just 6 days since the start of the SIR of electoral rolls process to an astonishing 773.
Yeah, Meena, if you recall in one of your podcasts, I think something almost identical question I had alluded to that they're planning for serial bomb blast around, firstly, in two phases. First phase was 6th of December, and the second phase was close to 26th of January 2026. I think I have said so in your podcast. If I have not said, then please take it this way. So they have been planning to carry out a very well coordinated serial blast in West Bengal at multiple centers of excellence. Centers of excellence could include your what there is a famous library in Kolkata. What's that name? Victoria Hall, or it could be there in your Kalighat. It could be there in places where you have maximum footfall in the airport, such like centers, and also they are looking at the four pillars of democracy. Four pillars: the leadership, you have legislature, you have the executive people. Somebody was sending me a message. Executive means it is all minister, prime minister, cabinet minister, all they form the executive. Somebody, one of my student is asking what is executive. So when you talk about the legislature is parliament and Rajya Sabha. So similarly you have your media and you have judiciary. So these are the four primary pillars. There are multiple pillars which are coming up now. Apart from this, they are looking at the nuclear scientists. They are looking at the centers of excellence, which are economic centers of excellence. Okay, the space scientists. Things which are going to propel India to become a global power by 2047. There is a concerted effort by multiple agencies, forces inimical to the growth. So here, a citizen, normal citizen, will do well just to keep the eyes and ears open and tell the security agencies, भैया मैंने ये देखा है, हो सकता है नहीं हो, लेकिन मेरे को लगा ये देश के हित के लिए नहीं है, कुछ नुकसान होने जा रहा है, इतना बता दे कोई. That itself, the awareness, your and my job is to enhance the awareness amongst the public, and it is going to happen in West Bengal if we are not careful. Our int agencies, as per my understanding and my experience in the forces, is that they are already absolutely on the ball. They will not allow this to happen. But if it
Yeah.
happens in matters of security, well, we should be prepared to defend ourselves. We don't expect another Pelga. We don't want any casualty, any Indian dying because of such kind of nefarious activities. It requires a kind of a very homogeneous and kind of an integrated approach from one and all inside the country.
Yeah. Moving on to Pakistan. Now we're talking about his Imran Khan's sister has gone to visit him, and it seems he's alive, but he's being mentally tortured. Now he's held in Adiala jail and accused. Imran Khan accused the army chief Asim Munir of disastrous policies, deliberately fueling Afghanistan tensions, worsening terrorism, and subjecting him to solitary confinement and psychological torture. Now, his sister is very clear that he's being mentally tortured. And your take on this, sir?
Very quick comments. I only hope and assume that whatever the sister is saying, she is not saying all this under pressure. There is every possibility, like again in your podcast, I had given one option is she would have, Imran Khan would have been neutralized, killed. Okay. Another possibility is that he's not killed, he's alive, but not keeping well, something like what the sister is saying. And the third possibility is he's alive. In all this possibility, the question which is coming up is if the judiciary has allowed access twice in a week, why isn't the government, why aren't the people asking for that? Why isn't the international human rights and Amnesty International, these organizations are not making noise? They make only noise when actually suits them. So therefore, what it brings to me is that fine, we take it that he's alive. Okay, but people need to understand, our viewers will do well to understand the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is America does not want China to penetrate as much as it has penetrated into Pakistan. It is one of the steps, as per my understanding, to push back China. How is it related to Imran Khan's case? It is related to Imran Khan because Imran Khan is dead against USA. It is dead against the Pakistan. He is the only political leader in the history of Pakistan who has stood up and point blank, in open day, broad daylight, he has pointed a finger and told, here is an organization, this deep state, unless it is removed from the architecture of governance, Pakistan will never improve, and words to that effect. Okay, so therefore, the only way, if you join the dots together, the only way is to make sure that Imran Khan is taken care of either by sending him out of Pakistan on exile to a suitable country. Somebody was saying Qatar, they are offering exile, or London or someplace. I don't believe. I am not a pessimist. I am a very optimist as a soldier. I prepare for the worst kind of. I would urge my countrymen to be prepared for the worst eventuality every time. The worst eventuality is if Imran Khan has been killed. If he has been killed, then the following things are likely to take place.
Yeah.
The PTI,
So,
Pakistan,
yeah.
Pakistan Tehreek Taliban, Pakistan Tehreek Insaf, the party of Imran Khan, does not have any leader in the second, in the third, or in the fourth rank. Imran Khan is the only leader. The person who's making noise from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, what's his name? Whatever I'm forgetting, the chief minister, he is also been threatened that governor's rule or president's rule is going to be imposed in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So it may so happen that Imran Khan either he's sent out from the jail to XYB or ABCD place on exile, and the PTI, which is got the largest popular base of this party, automatically collapses. When that collapses, Munir Khan is going to have a field day. One issue. Second issue, allow me to complete this. I know we are exceeding the time, but our viewers must understand more than the Constitution Amendment 27, there are things which are happening which is undermining the efficiency and independence of Supreme Court. In any parliamentary democracy, if the judiciary loses its independence and autonomous status, then it cannot discharge you, cannot, there will be no checks and balances on the military. What has happened is in 2010, take your mind back, there was an amendment called as Constitution 18 Amendment. That 18 Amendment, it introduced a thing called as um, Judiciary Commission of Pakistan. It was non-existent earlier. So Judiciary Commission of Pakistan, I'll finish off. I mean, I can understand you are worried about the time, but this is very
No, no,
important.
not at all. Please continue.
Judiciary Commission of Pakistan, a basic job of this commission was to select the High Court and the Supreme Court judges and the constitutional benches. Okay. And it comprised of a very high merit, based on the merit, very high grade quality of judges. So this was the change which happened during People's Party, Pakistan People's Party. They only brought in this particular change, but this 18th Amendment has been put to dustbin with this 27th Amendment. How? There is an amendment which preceded the latest one, 27th Amendment. It is called as 26th Constitution Amendment. It happened when? It happened in sometime November, December last year. What did it say? It said that the judges who are supposed to man this Judiciary Commission of Pakistan, it will have an element of executive. The political dispensation also will come in. Okay. When the politicians started coming in, you do not have a professional selection of people for High Court, for Supreme Court, for constitutional benches. And most importantly, the judges who did not toe the line of the government, they were being posted out. So this, nobody made any noise. Quietly it happened. Now in 27th Amendment, they have created a structure known as, what is this called? Federal Constitutional Court, FCC. Federal Constitutional Court. What does it mean? It is a parallel structure like Supreme Court, which has come up in Pakistan, which will have the Judiciary Commission of Pakistan will comprise of politicians. Okay, the executive. They will take a call whenever these decisions have been taken based on certain events which have taken place. Because if you take your mind back to 2017 Panama case, Nawaz Sharif was virtually, he was thrown out. He was to be impeached. He was caught. He and his family members were caught. They were buying property in London, other places through Panama account. So such like issues, otherwise the executive in Pakistan could not be touched. They were going scot-free. And whenever military came in, like people may ask, they have been asking me question, Ayub Khan, Jial Haq and others, Musharraf and all. So whenever they came in order to justify in a hindsight, the Supreme Court used a doctrine called a doctrine of necessity. Because it was necessitated by the doctrine of security and safety of the country, the military had to come in, therefore the military coup. This time, Munir has done it very silently, in a very tactful manner, without ruffling any feather. On top of it, firstly, he has taken the immunity, legal immunity. No criminal cases can be charged or he can be ever be, investigated by any judicial agency. He is not accountable to legislature. He is not accountable to the executive. He is not accountable to the judiciary. What else? And more so, also, yes, no mainstream media is discussing about this. Very interesting. The nuclear command, every country with a parliamentary kind of democracy has got, if they have nuclear weapon, it's called as structured, nuclear command authority. The nuclear command authority generally is headed by the prime minister of a country, which is basically of parliamentary democracy. Not like North Korea and Russia and China and all. Pakistan had changed the structure in such a way that instead of prime minister, the nuclear button is going to be under the finger of Munir. He is the CDS, he is the chief of the army staff, he is he's junior to one of the chiefs below him, air chief. He's also looking after Navy. He's become a CDS. Nowhere in the world ever you will come across this kind of an organization having come into existence in the past or likely to come into existence. It is going to be unprecedented. Under these circumstances, today I heard and saw in the news that all this delay, you see, Sharif went to London, he was called back because Nawaz Sharif wants to become the prime minister. That's why the delay. Even if he becomes the prime minister, it is still very dangerous. My only submission to our viewers is to understand the larger dangers which are lurking from the western border. This Munir character, until unless he is taken to task by the global agencies, I'm afraid global agency, when I talk about the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations General Assembly, the superpower USA, country like all P5 must rage, call it out loudly. This is not on in 21st century. You cannot put everything in the hands of a chief of the army staff. It is very, very dangerous. They have nuclear weapons, they have missiles. Tomorrow, if America doesn't take any suitable countermeasure, don't be surprised and shocked to learn that the second 9/11 also has been unleashed from the soil of Pakistan.
Very interesting, Major General. Brilliant, brilliantly capsulated. And thank you for this wonderful session. And we'll see you again next week. Good night. Jai Hind. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you so much.